let's get into the pick six, man. Game number one was before we get to that. Before we get to that, to the pick six, okay, we had 6 games. You can find this on social media. Northland versus Linden, okay? Pick North versus Gahanna Lincoln. DeSales versus Watterson. Let's see here. Fisher Catholic versus Burn Union. Olentangy Liberty versus Westerville South. And the game we just talked about with Von Cameron Davis, South versus Walnut Ridge, and that definitely lived up to the expectations. Now, the pick six, all right, is brought to you by Just Hoops, okay? This segment is brought to you by Just Hoops by Shootaway. Just Hoops is a basketball training facility located in Powell, Lewis Center, just 10 minutes from Interstate 270 off Route 23. If you have not been there before, you have to check it out. The facility has 10 shoot-away guns for players to maximize their shooting reps, while also featuring ball handling stations and Vertimax training. If you ever seen this machine, it's pretty cool. You want to check that out. And on top of that, Just Hoops has a tremendous staff of coaches developing players on all levels. Just Hoops offers a free trial session for first-time visitors. Check them out at justhoopscolumbus.com.
Great facility. So Sean Marks from Olentangy, who's had, last couple years been really good. He's there just about every day. I think he's the all-time leader in makes at Just Hoops. So there's no secret. You put the work in, it's going to show on the court. So they provide, pretty good opportunity for kids to get in work and, get some high-quality training. So shout out to Just Hoops.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, hey, man, look, we figured that this was going to be kind of a crazy year on the North.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Game number one, Northland versus Linden. Northland has had a stranglehold on the City League North for, ever.
Most of the last, 15 years.
Yeah,
except for
almost
last
2
year.
decades, right? And Linden, up-and-coming program, some young players there that have an opportunity to make a name for themselves. So Northland pulls out the victory, close game.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you expect from these two teams going forward? And is this a detrimental loss for Linden in the fact that they can't recover, or is this Northland saying, hey, we're still here?
I think last night was a positive game for both teams. Linden had a rough start to their season. They went on the road and lost to Licking Valley on Monday, then picked it back up, beat Whetstone, and then losing this one. But most people had picked Northland to win the City League North this year. So for Linden to play with them, I think is for them going forward, it builds some positive momentum for them. But for Northland, I feel like going forward, they're going to keep getting better. They got a young cast. They got a lot of new contributors. Guys like Mikhail Massey missed his whole freshman year with the torn ACL. He hit 6 threes last night. I believe he had 23, 24 points. Mm-hmm. And then Nikili Elmore, the senior point guard, just a bulldog, was offered by Columbus State after the game. I think Northland's going to continue. Their chemistry is going to get better. They are showing an ability to make shots, and then they always defend at a high level. But I think for Linden, you got Chance Gross back. The sophomore is the key for them. He's just really gifted offensively, can do a lot. But David Brown, the senior wing forward, also offered by Columbus State last night, he had a pretty good performance. I think you can expect to see Linden improve as well and compete with the teams at the top of the North Division.
Now, while we're on the North and we're talking about these two teams, I do want to bring up another team and a player that could be sneaky from the outside looking in, and they're off to a really good start, and that's Centennial with Jalen Gilbert leading the way over there.
Yeah, Jalen Gilbert, sophomore wing forward, had a great freshman season last year. They're undefeated right now. They're rolling. They got a good cast of players, and they're really confident too. I think in past years when they've gone up against those top teams, the confidence hasn't always been there.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Beechcroft on Tuesday, and they had to overcome I believe it's 12-point deficit to win that game. So Centennial is motivated. They're playing good basketball. It's not just Jalen, though. Miles Martinez, the senior, is very good. And they have a sophomore, Trayvon Jackson, that transferred in from South that had, I believe, 16 points in the first 2 games to start off. So they got a good team. I also like Jalen Jackson, the sophomore. His dad, Terry Jackson, does a lot for kids. So shout out to Terry, and then Jalen, is a really good player as well. So
absolutely. Shout out to Centennial, man. A solid football season, one of the best records they've had in a long time. They look to be taking those athletes and the success from that and translating that to the basketball court, and that's good to see. So absolutely. Definitely happy for Centennial. Let's move on to game number 2 of our pick 6. So we got a lot more to get to you guys out there today. Game number 2, Gahanna at home versus Pick North. This game, I'll be honest, man. I really didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a good game, a solid game. I think Pick North was more impressive than I thought they would be. But somebody had a big game last night that I know you want to talk about. We talked off air before we started, and you said you didn't think you'd see a game like this from this young man all year.
Yeah, so Hunter Shedenhelm was a junior there.
Pick North.
It was a high-scoring game. There was 4 guys who had at least 20 points in the game last night. Gahanna overcame an early deficit to win 85-77. Hunter had 33 points. He's a 6'4", kind of wing guard. Was really known as just a big-time shooter as a freshman, sophomore, but he's added a lot to his game and can kind of beat guys off the dribble and finish at the rim now. So with him having a more, rounded-out game, that makes him even tougher to guard because – he's not just going to shoot. If you close him out too hard, he can take you to the basket because he's about 6'4" as well and fairly athletic. So he had 33. Didn't expect him to put up a game like that. I thought he'd have a shot to average about 16, 17, maybe 18 points a game. But with a start like that and, with the way Jack Sawyer, the sophomore, plays, Pick North, they have some weapons. They're young, but they got plenty of talent. But for Gahanna, they lost 85-77. Elijah Thomas, the senior, had 27 points.
Mm-hmm.
He's now, forged his way into the top 10 in the area in scoring. And then who?
Sean Jones.
Had 20 points as well for Gahanna. And, they're still adjusting without Josh Corbin, but I think as the season goes on, they're going to be fine and kind of figure it out. So,
Hey, I want to ask you this, right? I see some football players for Pick North came out.
yeah.
Jack Sawyer, one of their better basketball players, one of their best football players, obviously. Do you think that them bringing having a couple of those guys out provides some toughness on a team that they had talent and football players last year, but it was a different kind of team, really headlined by a basketball player.
They got football guys now. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Guys like Chris Scott, and then Mike Lowry came out for the football team.
Jalen Baylor.
Adrian Clark, I believe he plays football as well. So, yeah, those guys are seniors too. The majority of them are seniors, so that gives them some added toughness and physicality. That's how Walnut Ridge used to be, 5-6 years ago. They were like almost all football guys. So,
and it's
a similar build. And look at their coach. It's Jason Bates, who was the Walnut Ridge coach. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that program's got a lot of young talent. I mean, they got some big-time freshmen and sophomores.
But I believe it provides a certain level of camaraderie also. These guys know each other. They've already, fought together.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, absolutely. And again, man, Sean Jones, if you haven't seen Sean Jones, I know they took the loss last night. As a freshman, happy birthday to him. Also, his birthday was yesterday. So, from the Central Ohio Hoops Report, happy birthday to Sean. But he's must see as a young player in this area. If you don't have a dog in a fight and you want to go see a up and coming great basketball player, Sean Jones at Gahanna is one you want to go see. So they'll get back on the winning track, I'm sure. Let's move on to game number 3 of the Pick 6. That was DeSales versus Bishop Watterson. Bishop Watterson at home. DeSales gets the victory, 62-59.
This is one of the 3 games on the Pick 6 that went to OT.
Man,
we picked some good games.
Hey, for sure, no doubt.
Was the biggest game that we picked. The biggest deficit was 8 points. So we did a pretty decent job with that. But that game, Kyan Durden and Kobe Ryder combined for 43 points. And for DeSales, they were young last year. Mm-hmm. They really struggled in the CCL, but they kind of figured it out late in the season. Made it all the way to the district semifinals. For them, that's a big win because that's at Watterson. It's not easy to win there. Although Von Cam made 33 and 10 look real easy last Tuesday. But for DeSales, that's a tough win because now they have a hold of first place in the CCL.
Right.
It's them and St. Charles. I believe St. Charles is still unbeaten, but Watterson had shut down Bishop Hartley just last week, and then DeSales goes on the road and wins there. So they control their own destiny now in the CCL.
Let me ask you about Watterson moving forward. They've had a really tough schedule.
Oh, absolutely.
Early.
It's still, I mean, they just played Davidson, and they played Walnut Ridge, and they played Hartley, and they played DeSales.
Yes. So do you think this may help them out? Because basketball is a sport where everybody's going to get in. They're going to have an opportunity. So Watterson has been in some battles. They've, fought in some of these tough games. Do you think this may help them out later on once we get around tournament time?
If you know anything about Watterson, they're a different team in March than they are in December. They're going to continue to get better, and they got senior leaders on that team again. Jimmy Patton had his best game of the season last night. I believe he had about 17 points. But Zach Sawyer is the guy who kind of runs that team, can make shots, just a tough kid, finishes at the basket. So as Davis Boone, the sophomore, continues to develop, I think Waterston's going to have a legit big three, and in Division II, they're going to be a power. I mean, I feel like everyone's going to run away from South when that district tournament starts. And I think Waterston could be a team that maybe runs the table in Division II and gets another district title.
All right, man. That was game number 3 of the Pick Six. Again, we got a lot more to get to. Very excited about what's coming up once we finish. And again, this is brought to you by Just Hoops, by Shoot Away. Hey, you young players out there, men, women, go get some shots up. Work on your J.
You can, if you work a full-time job, you can literally go during lunch break, and they have discounted prices for that too. I've done it a couple times. So.
Get some shots up. Okay, game number 4 of the Pick Six. Burn Union at Fisher Catholic. Fisher Catholic gets the victory. You were a little bit surprised by this.
D2, number 1 versus number 2 in Division 4.
Yep.
Fisher Catholic wins at home. This one went to overtime as well. Burn had been playing some great basketball, but Fisher Catholic is tough as well. Daniel Turner is a senior at Fisher Catholic. Had a big-time dunk in their first game last week. 6'3" kid, very athletic. Gives them an above-the-rim presence that they didn't have last year.
Mm-hmm.
In Division 4, Fisher Catholic's going to be a major player. Obviously, Harvest Prep's gone. Wellington's gone. Africentric's gone. So D4 is wide open again. Keep an eye on them, but Burn Union's got some players as well. They got a senior guard, Zane Mergen, that can play, and then they have a sophomore, Brock Unger, who's probably he's the X factor for them. And I think they get Fisher Catholic at home next time. That could be a game that they maybe win, and then that gives them some momentum going on the D4 district tournament.
So these will be teams that we'll be looking for. Do they have either of these teams have the kind of players that they can make a run deep into the tournament?
So for D4 in Central Ohio, it's really tough. So when Harvest Prep was in the division and Wellington was in the division, Africentric, they ran through the Athens Regional. We had a team in the state finals just about every year.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a little different. Last year, our district champion was Fairfield Christian, and they were under 500 coming into the tournament. So.
Wow.
D4 is wide open. It's only like a 17-team division, so it's really small. I think Fisher Catholic, they have seniors and they have good coaching, so that could be a team that possibly, when tournament time rolls around and if Turner can keep playing the way he does, I think that could be a squad that makes a deep run.
Absolutely. Okay, that sounds good, man. Let's move on. Game number 5 of the Pick Six. I was here last night. I went live for a couple quarters. Gave you a live look in. That was Olentangy Liberty at Westerville South. Olentangy Liberty gets the victory 69-62. I guess the matchup, if you want to call it that, even though they didn't necessarily guard each other, was Ben Roderick from Olentangy Liberty, one of the top players in the area.
State.
Yeah.
Might be the top unsigned player in the state of
He
Ohio
may
now.
be. And it was some people there to see him last night. And then for Westerville South, Jordan McMillan, he's their leader.
Tough kid, man.
Yes, he is. So they got the victory last night. Now, look, Olentangy Liberty, they jumped out to a big lead. I believe it was 21-10 after the first quarter. Westerville South made a run back in the second quarter. And then they kind of played even in the second half.
Now, you said Roderick hit 3 triples in the first quarter. How did he shoot the ball last night? What were your thoughts on that?
Early in the game, and I'll preface this by saying it looked like he got wore down a little bit near the end of the game.
Yep.
But at the beginning of the game, like they say, when everybody's on full strength, he looked incredible shooting the ball. Top of the key, catch and shoot, could put it on the floor, pull up.
Got that one dribble pull up.
Yes.
Jab step is killer. So
I'm going to tell you what I really liked about his game, okay? And it's not necessarily him, but I want to give credit to their coaching staff. Yeah. I love the way
Greg
they play.
Nosselman does a great job over there.
Everybody passes the ball. Everybody touches the ball. Nobody took more
than
Ben
plays within the system, too. I think that's something that people – they see the big numbers and they might think he's just jacking it up. He plays within the system and takes good shots. For Liberty, a lot of the times they don't have a whole lot of guys who can create their own looks. Yes. So sometimes their best shot is Ben just doing it himself. But he still plays within the system. He's got a great IQ, comes from a great family, and just a really nice kid. And there were schools. So we had Xavier there last night. Wisconsin was there.
Xavier was there. Wisconsin was there. I do want to help you I want you to help me with a name because this young man played awesome last night. Number 25,
Nick Nakazian.
Nick Nakazian. Hey, he was awesome.
Nakashian.
I'm sorry. Yep. But he didn't start, but he played like a starter last night. Rebounds, defensively, made some big shots.
He's just the motor guy for them. Big-time energy, and he's a great student. He's committed to Carnegie Mellon.
Yes, he is.
D3 school in Pittsburgh. You got to have, Ivy League level grades in order to get in there. So He'll join Zach Watson, who went to Dublin Jerome 2 years ago at Carnegie Mellon in their basketball program. But Nick was a guy in that very first game I saw of them against Cincinnati Taft. I think he had like 24 points and 15 rebounds. Just a kid that plays with great toughness, great motor. He's not the most skilled, but he's going to make his mark with his athleticism and just overall energy. So those two, that's a great duo that they got over there at Liberty. And they do have a player who, I don't know if he played last night, but Mitchell Kirshner, he was out the first game of the year.
Yes, he did play last night.
He played last
9.
night. Okay.
Yep.
So with him being back, that's a good trio for them. He's also committed D3 to Rochester, another great academic school. So shout out to those guys getting it done in the classroom and giving themselves that opportunity. For any kids that are watching this, the higher your GPA is, the higher your ACT score, the more opportunities you'll have. Like, you will never limit your opportunities by doing well in the classroom and working hard. So with these guests that we've had, guys like Von Cam and then CJ Anthony coming up, like, they both get it done in the classroom. That's more important than any points that they can put up.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd rather you have a 4.0 than a 40-point game. So,
Chris Green is checking in. What's up, brother? I appreciate that. Let's talk about Westerville South for a minute, okay? Jordan McMillan, he had 16 last night. Ryan Greggs, I believe it was 18 points. And then they had another in double figures with Jacob Singleton.
yes.
What do you believe is the upside for Westerville Central? They look like they have some athletes. They're, solid. Can they elevate to a different level?
Yeah. So that the trio you just mentioned, they're all seniors. So they've been there for a while. They've had a tough schedule to start the year, too. They opened up right at Newark to start the year, lost a tough one there. Those guys are going to get it done. When Jordan's making shots, and he's kind of got an old school game. He operates from the mid-range area. But the X factors are really Greggs and Singleton. If those guys are hitting shots on the perimeter, they're at their top level. And Manny Sunnyway is a senior. He's 6'1", but he plays like he's 6'6".
Yes, he does.
He's got to stay out of foul trouble and get rebounds and clean up the glass for them on the inside, or they're going to really get abused by some of those bigger teams.
Manny is an interesting name because watching him last night, I heard some people in the crowd like, "Hey, can I get 10 rebounds?" Right. So I think everybody kind of understands his game.
That's his role.
He did take
trash man for them.
some threes last night. So maybe if he can provide another presence down low, or from free throw line down, that may be a good look for them as well. And for Jordan McMillan, man, I'll be honest with you, I thought he was. He played within the system, within the team game last night, but I would like to see him be a little bit more aggressive because I think he has the tools to be one of these top scorers that we talk about.
He struggled with foul trouble the last couple games, picking up a couple charges, so that might have been in his head last night. But he can score. He had his breakout game in the district final against Hilliard Bradley last year and had 24 points and kept South close.
I think he can do that every night. I think he can do that every night and still get his teammates involved.
He's got to stay out of foul trouble, so that's been – the 2 games he's had this year where he didn't score a whole lot, he was in foul trouble. So if he can stay on the court, he's going to have a chance to put up good numbers every night.
All right, man, let's wrap up the Pick 6, man. We had Von Cameron Davis on earlier to start the show off, but let's go a little bit into the game, okay? Game number 6 of the Pick 6, brought to you by Just Hoops. Walnut Ridge at South. It was lit, as they say.
That environment was crazy, man. It was, man.
It was.
That was a classic City League game. I've been going to City League games since I was a kid. That felt like some early 2000 stuff. I mean, it was loud as hell in there. Fans were going crazy. When Ridge thought they won, like South, they were throwing stuff at the Walnut Ridge kids. Like, it was nuts, but both teams competed and played a great game. So
that was the Rasheed Wallace, man. Both teams play hard, man.
They both played hard.
78-74, South gets the victory. Okay, so we had one of the best players in the state on earlier, Von Cameron Davis. But let's go a little bit deeper into Walnut Ridge. They took the loss to South because I want to give South a lot of love because early in their schedule they've taken on some heavy hitters and they've responded. But let's talk a little bit about Walnut Ridge. Kavion Ross, I thought he was
That's
impressive.
His breakout game,
okay,
for sure.
Hard to move, hard to get around down low,
and
good putbacks.
One underrated part of that game is he played every single minute.
Yeah, never.
It was going hard on both ends, running the floor, cleaning up the glass. Played the whole game.
So he was definitely impressive. Now, we know about Magwood. He didn't necessarily have his best game offensively, but we asked Von about what he thought the ceiling was. I want to ask you, now that he's not around, what do you feel like the ceiling is for Walnut Ridge? What can these 3 players –
City championship. They can win a city championship. I think they can win a district championship. One thing that's going to happen is when the D1 district tournament draw happens, you're going to have the top 3 teams are more than likely going to be Dublin Kaufman, Pickerington Central, Hilliard Bradley. They should be able to control the leagues that they play in. I think those will be the top 3 seeds. They'll get their own bracket to go into. That 4th district tournament bracket, I think everyone, the teams in the mid-level, teams like Hilliard Davidson, Olentangy Liberty, I think they're going to go into that 4th bracket. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Walnut Ridge is going to be. I think they're capable of it. The biggest thing for them
Hold on,
is –
man, real quick. You getting me excited, man. You telling me we might be able to get a Von Cameron versus Ben Roderick matchup in the districts, man? It's too early to get me this excited, man. Okay? I'm already asking for Don Penn and Sean Jones, and now you back me up with this? Come on, baby. Let's go. All right, I'm going to finish. I'm sorry.
For Ridge, though, they got to continue to get Kavion Ross involved. He had about 22 and 15 on Tuesday night. That front court duo dominated, but the biggest part for them is they have to make shots from the perimeter. Those guards have to knock down shots. Meech Coble figures to be the guy to do that for them. He had a rough night against South, but I think he's capable of being a floor spacer for them. Another guy that we haven't mentioned yet, I really like sophomore Darren Brown.
Okay, yep.
He's a Walnut Ridge through and through ever since he was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually the ball boy when I started covering Walnut Ridge back in like 2013-14. He was the ball boy there. So he's been around the program forever. He's had a pretty good start to the season. If he can continue to develop his game and become, a really reliable secondary scorer, this team, you have those two in the front court, and you have Keon Magwood as your ball handler and just, heart and soul of the team. They have the pieces to make a run. It's just going to come down to outside shooting. If they can knock down shots and open up the spacing in the floor, for Von Cam to do what he does, and then Von Cam as well, he's going to continue to shoot the ball at a high level, which he's done to start the season. And I think a big part of his game we haven't mentioned yet is he's knocking down all of his free throws.
Yes,
those are easy points. He's going to get fouled a lot. And when I was at that Watterson game, he had 5 and 1s. 3-point plays in the second half alone.
15 points, 5 extra points.
When you get those free points, you got to take advantage of them, and he's been doing that so far.
My dad used to always say, man, you got to make the free throws. Nobody guarding you up there. So, absolutely. So, let's get into the Bulldogs, man. Shout out to Coach Spears, okay?
Yeah.
I was able to spend a little bit of time up over the week with those guys up there. What he's done is incredible.
Amazing.
Okay, from what he took over, okay? But let's focus on this year right now. This team, all right?
Yep.
They start off, Morgan Safford, one of the best players in the area.
Ran through
okay?
them.
And
it's 35-10 in the first half.
South High with the victory. They come back. No layoffs, no drop-offs. Walnut Ridge. Here comes Von Cameron Magwood and the 4841. No drop-off again. They stepped up to the challenge again and got the victory. What are the expectations for this South High team moving forward? Let's talk about some of their key players, man.
So Spears obviously has been someone who's had some really good teams in the past. They've won 84 games in the last 4 or 5 years, 2 district titles, 1 city league championship. I don't think he's had a team more talented than this year's group. They defend at a high level. They play super hard, and they have really good backcourt guys that are reliable, like Trey Watkins, Terrell Adams, Taquan Symington.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest key to them is Marcus Johnson.
Absolutely.
He came in big-time athlete in that 2020 class. He's added a lot to his perimeter game. He's more of a true wing than just a slasher now. So if he can continue to play at the high level he is, and they can kind of compensate for their lack of elite size with the perimeter defense they play and the ability to create turnovers, they're going to be the number 1 seed in Division II. I don't think a lot of teams are going to want to go towards them. Just Spears gets his guys ready for tournament basketball. I think they have what it takes to make it out of the region finally. I really do.
This team this year.
I think this team can do it. I think they have the pieces and the toughness. They've been there. So you have a guy like Trey Watkins. He's played since he was a freshman.
Yep.
He's played in a district final game every year. He's played in the city championship game.
Mm-hmm.
He's the senior leader now, and he's ready for that challenge. And he stepped up on Tuesday.
25 big points.
25 points. I think he had 9 points in overtime alone. And the biggest shot he made was that 3 in overtime.
Yes.
So Von Cam scores early in the period, and then he comes down and hits that transition 3.
You talked about Marcus, man. Just go back to the moment, man. Go back to the moment, the shot, the flick of the wrist up there.
I didn't even see it. Like I was just like the Walnut Ridge players. I was running down the court thinking that the game was over, and the ball fell right into Marcus's hands. Like if the ball literally went 1 inch here or 1 inch here, he doesn't have enough time to make the shot.
You're right.
His awareness and his sense of time and situation was elite there, because in the Columbus Dispatch article he had mentioned, he's like, I saw the time when Taquan put the 3 up. He's like, I knew if it missed, like I had to be quick. I didn't have enough time to rebound and gather and put a shot up. He did just that. So plays like that win big games.
And I hear a lot of people talk about the last play, and they say, well, why didn't Juan Arias do this or that? Bink almost lost the ball. Somebody was playing defense right there at, on Taquan. So it wasn't like they completely just gave up after the Magwood basket and said, hey, we won.
When the shot went up, though,
yes,
most of the team kind of went down the other floor, so they probably learned a lesson there about playing to the final buzzer. But tough loss for them, but they're going to be right back. I think when they play at home against that South team, they're going to come out like some cage animals, and they're going to play probably the best game of the season. So.
Now, Warner Ridge has a big 3, right?
Yes.
But South High, they may have not the biggest 3, but they may have 4 guys.
Yeah. Travell Adams played the best game of his career off the bench.
He didn't have any turnovers, and he gets starters minutes, and he could maybe be a starter on
a two-way player
other,
too.
City League teams.
He is a two-way player. Had 2 big blocks there, around the rim, and really in the first half when Symington went out and they kind of stalled a little bit offensively, he gave them a spark. Scored 10 of his 15 in the first half. If he can continue to play like that and provide them with the the defensive abilities that he has as an elite on-ball defender, they're going to be tough. I mean, if you don't have good guard play, good luck against them because it's going to be a long night.
Hey, that was the Pick 6 brought to you by Just Hoops.